The galaxy was burning again for centuries. Alien empires had fought for control, for pride, for power. Entire star systems had turned to dust, and yet the war never ended. Everyone in the galaxy knew the same cursed place, the Warzone. It was a region of space where fleets entered but never came back. No one knew what waited inside, but the silence that followed was enough to keep most away. The Warzone had no rules, no peace, no mercy. It was the graveyard of civilizations, the center of chaos itself for decades. The Galactic Council used it as a boundary line, a wall to separate empires. They believed it was safer to lose ships there than to risk fighting in open space. But on one quiet day, something strange appeared on their long-range scanners. A fleet, not an alien one, not a known faction. Their ships moved in perfect formation, sharp, cold, and silent at first. The observers thought it was an error, maybe a ghost signal. But the identification codes were real. The transmission carried one simple message. This is the Terran Expeditionary Fleet preparing to enter the war zone. The council chamber filled with chaos. Species shouted over each other. "What are humans doing there?" One demanded. "They're mad," shouted another. The human representative stood calm. Hands behind his back, he only said, "We have unfinished business." Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans. They were newcomers compared to ancient species like the Drexar or the Vorians, but they were unpredictable, fearless, and sometimes frighteningly silent in a short time. They had fought wars no one expected them to win. They had built ships faster than light, weapons that broke through shields. And most terrifying of all, they never surrendered. Now they were heading into the war zone, the place everyone avoided. No one had ever come back from there, not even the strongest fleets. But humanity wasn't sending one fleet, they were sending 3. Each ship was built like a moving fortress, black metal absorbing all light. The insignia of Earth glowed faintly on their hulls. No signals of fear, no request for help, just pure silence. Galactic media spread the news within hours. Millions watched as the human fleet crossed the border. Commentators argued endlessly. Some said humans were brave, others said they were foolish. A Drexar commander laughed during an interview. "They will vanish like the rest," he said confidently. But his smile faded when the human transmission came again. "We will clean the war zone." Inside one of the human ships, Admiral Kane stood before a holographic map. He was tall, with a calm and quiet voice. His officers waited for orders, the tension heavy in the air. "Admiral, do you really think anything survived in there?" one officer asked. Kane looked at the swirling void ahead. "It doesn't matter," he replied. "We go where others fall. That's who we are." The war zone itself was not empty. It was full of drifting wrecks, broken satellites, and dead stations. Thousands of ships from past wars floated like ghosts. No energy signatures, no life forms, just cold silence. But deep inside that void, something moved. Something the galaxy had forgotten. Or maybe something it never knew. As the human fleet entered, sensors went dark. Communications became unstable. Static filled the air. "Signal interference rising," said the communications officer. "Keep formation," Kane ordered. "No matter what happens, no fear. Outside." The ships passed through clouds of metallic dust and broken hulls. Lights flickered. Radar went blind. Yet the human fleet moved as if it knew exactly where to go. From across the galaxy, Council satellites watched helplessly. The last images showed the human fleet disappearing into darkness, then silence. Minutes turned to hours, hours to days. No word came back, no signals, no return. The Council began emergency meetings. Some wanted to send rescue teams, others refused. "It's suicide," said the Vorian Prime Minister. "The war zone doesn't take prisoners," said another. But one scientist spoke quietly. "What if they found something? What if the war zone isn't what we think it is?" Meanwhile, strange reports began to appear. Patrol fleets near the war zone vanished. Entire squadrons gone, leaving no wrecks, no distress calls. Only empty space where thousands of lives once were. Some whispered that the humans had awakened something. Others said they had become something else entirely. Weeks later, a single probe from the edge of the war zone sent back a fragment of data, a blurry image of a massive shadow moving through the void. At its center was a symbol, the insignia of Earth glowing red. Then the signal cut. The galaxy waited in silence, some in fear, some in awe. No one knew what happened inside the war zone. But one message appeared on the old frequencies, transmitted in every known language. "Do not interfere," it said, and beneath it, the signature of Admiral Kane. Humanity had entered the war zone, and the galaxy could only watch. The galaxy had gone silent. No one dared to speak the name of the humans after they entered the war zone. At first, the Council believed the Terran Fleet had perished like the others, but the silence lasted too long, too perfect, too heavy. It was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence of something unfinished. Weeks passed. Then the first reports arrived from the border colonies. Entire alien fleets had gone missing near the war zone. Not destroyed, not damaged, missing. Scanners found no debris, no radiation, no distress calls. Just empty coordinates where once massive armadas had floated. The Drexar Empire was the first to react. They sent their second fleet to investigate. 1,000 warships, led by the iron-fanged commander Zorkal. He laughed when the Council warned him. Humans can't make entire fleets vanish, he said. They bleed like the rest. But 2 days after entering the war zone border, all Drexar transmissions stopped. Only one fragment reached the nearest outpost. A static-filled voice whispering, "We saw them," and then nothing. Then silence again. Panic began to spread through the Galactic Council. Species accused each other of using forbidden weapons. The Vorians blamed the Drexar blamed the humans, but the humans had not sent another word since they vanished. No communication, no statement, no explanation. They had simply become part of the void. The galaxy turned its eyes to the war zone. It looked the same as before, a field of wreckage and drifting dust. But deep sensors began detecting faint energy ripples, not explosions, not weapons fire. Something stranger, a pattern, pulsing like a heartbeat, slow and deliberate, and every time it pulsed, another fleet disappeared. Soon the largest empires started losing patrols near the border. The Karan Dominion lost an entire carrier group. The Vorian explorers vanished without a signal. Even the ancient Vicari, whose cloaked ships had never been detected, were erased, one scientist whispered. Something is cleaning the war zone. But no one wanted to believe it. The Council held an emergency session again. The chamber was filled with nervous energy. The holograms of alien leaders flickered under the dim lights. One asked, "What if the humans are not gone?" Another shouted, "Impossible, no one survives that region." The human representative's seat remained empty, cold, untouched. Outside the chamber, the galaxy began to change. Trade routes around the war zone were abandoned. Refugees spoke of strange signals in the dark. Ships passing nearby reported hearing whispers on old Terran frequencies. A single message repeating every hour, "Do not enter." On a forgotten observation station near the border, a lone Vorian technician named Solon kept watch. He was tired, scanning empty space day after day. But one night his sensors caught something impossible. The stars bent, space itself twisted for a moment. Then he saw it. A shadow the size of a moon moving slowly through the void. Solon tried to zoom in, and what he saw made his heart stop. It was a human dreadnought, perfectly intact. Its hull covered in faint red light, it drifted silently, scanning the area like a predator waiting for movement. Before he could report, every system on his station went dark. The lights flickered once, then died. The last thing he heard before the station exploded was a whisper on the comms. "Observation detected." When the Council recovered the logs, they found only fragments. The last frame showed the Terran insignia glowing in the dark. The phrase "Expeditionary Command Active" flashed for 2 seconds. Then the feed ended. Now fear spread faster than truth. Some believed the humans had turned into ghosts. Others said they were using a weapon that erased matter itself. A few whispered of an ancient human project, something once called Operation Null Field. But there were no records left. Humans had deleted all data before entering the war zone. To the outside world, the war zone had become something else. A forbidden space where the laws of physics and life no longer worked. No one dared go near it anymore, but still, the disappearances continued. Even automated drones sent to scan the region would vanish instantly, as if swallowed by invisible hands. After the 10th Fleet went missing, a desperate message came from the Vorian Prime Minister. "Humanity," he said on every open channel, "if you are alive, stop this madness." The galaxy waited, holding its breath. Then, after weeks of silence, a reply came, only 4 words. "The cleaning is not over." The signal was traced to deep within the war zone, the location impossible to reach. But it confirmed one thing. The humans were alive, and whatever they were doing, It was working. From that moment, the galaxy changed forever. Empires stopped sending ships. The Warzone became sacred, untouchable. Some called it the human graveyard. Others called it the silent frontier. But for the first time in history, all species agreed on one thing. No one enters the Warzone again, because inside that darkness, humanity had awakened something. Something that erased armies, silenced worlds, and rewrote fear itself. And the galaxy could only watch as the legend of the vanished fleets began to spread. Whispered in every corner, every port, every outpost where the humans go. Wyans are deep inside the Warzone. The void stretched endlessly. No stars, no light. Only the silent hum of human engines breaking through the dark. The Terran expeditionary fleet drifted like a shadow made of steel. Unseen, yet watching everything. Inside the flagship TSS Invictus, Admiral Kane stood before a large transparent window. The stars outside were gone, replaced by a thick black mist. It wasn't space anymore, it was something else. Something alive behind him. Captain Reeves reported in a low voice. "All systems stable, Admiral. Communication with the outside remains cut." Kane didn't turn, he simply replied, "Good. Keep it that way." The bridge was quiet, too quiet. Every officer focused yet afraid to speak. They all knew they were somewhere no living being had ever returned from. But the humans didn't plan on returning. They came for something. In the lower decks, soldiers prepared in silence. Rows of armored Marines checked their weapons, though no one knew who the enemy was. Each of them carried a badge marked with the symbol of Earth and the words Project Null Field. No one outside the fleet knew what those words meant. Even most soldiers didn't understand, only the top command did. But they all believed in one truth. Humanity did not enter the Warzone to fight. They came to erase it. The fleet's artificial intelligence? Ares spoke softly across the comm system. Null field charge at 63%. Containment stable. The crew members felt the low vibration through the hull. They could feel the weapon waking up, though it was not a weapon in any normal sense. It was something born from old Terran science, something the rest of the galaxy would never comprehend. Admiral Kane turned to his officers, his eyes calm. "When we activate the field, there will be no explosion, no fire, no screams," he said. "There will only be silence, the kind that cleans everything." Captain Reeves hesitated. "Sir, do you think the Council will understand?" Kane smiled faintly. "They will not, they never do, but that's fine. They don't need to." The war zone around them began to shift, the mist swirling like it was alive. Old wrecks of alien ships floated past, their hulls scarred and frozen. Ghostly lights blinked on and off, like memories trying to wake up. Then, from the darkness, something moved, and a massive shadow, larger than any ship. "Contact. Unknown mass approaching," shouted the sensor officer. "Raise shields," Kane ordered, though his voice remained calm. The unknown object came closer, and for a moment, it looked like an ancient warship, a Drexer battleship. But its hull was melted, fused into itself. It moved without power, without crew, yet it moved with purpose. The crew watched in shock as the dead ship drifted closer, its surface glowing faintly red as if pulsing with life. "It's not possible," Reeves whispered. "That ship was destroyed centuries ago." Kane stared quietly. "The Warzone keeps what it kills," he said, "until now." Then he gave the command. "Activate the null field." Across the fleet, deep engines began to hum in unison. Vibrations ran through every deck, every corridor. The air shimmered as invisible energy began to expand outward. No explosion, no light, just a wave of nothingness spreading like a shadow. The ghost ship ahead froze mid-motion, then began to dissolve into fine dust. The black mist thinned. The stars flickered faintly for the first time in ages. On board, the lights dimmed. Systems trembled, but the fleet held strong. "Field holding steady," Ares confirmed. "Target anomalies disintegrating." Kane closed his eyes, whispering softly. "Let the void rest." For the first time in galactic history, the war zone began to clear. The dark mist faded slowly, revealing hundreds of wrecks silently breaking apart. The war zone was being erased, not destroyed, but rewritten into nothing. Outside the war zone, observers watching through long-range telescopes saw it too. A faint ripple across the stars, and then the entire region simply vanished. Where chaos once ruled, there was now empty, peaceful space. But the peace felt wrong, unnatural, as if the universe itself had paused to breathe. Meanwhile, inside the Invictus, The crew stood in silence. No one cheered, no one spoke. They all knew something immense had just happened. The Admiral walked across the bridge slowly. "What's our energy level?" he asked. Ares replied. "Null field output stable at 40%. Expanding perimeter cleaning continues." Kane nodded. "Good, we move to Phase 2. Captain Reeves hesitated. "Sir, what is Phase 2? Kane turned toward him, his voice calm but heavy. "Phase 2, he said, is the removal of those who try to take it back." The meaning hit everyone at once. The Warzone was no longer just a battlefield. It was becoming a human-controlled zone, a silent wall that nothing could cross. Every empire that approached would vanish, not by accident, but by design. Back in the council chambers light years away, alarms began to sound. Probes stationed near the war zone were disappearing, one after another. Scientists stared in disbelief as sensor data flatlined. One shouted, "It's spreading!" Another cried, "The humans are rewriting the map." The council demanded contact with humanity. But there was no response. Every frequency sent to Earth was met with static. But one signal slipped through, faint, encrypted, human. It contained only a short transmission from Admiral Kane himself.
"The war zone is clean. Phase 2 begins now. The galaxy froze."
No one knew what Phase 2 meant, but everyone felt it. Something had shifted. The humans were no longer participants in the galactic wars. They had become something far greater, far quieter and far more terrifying. The war zone was gone. In its place floated an unnatural calm. Every sensor, every satellite, every eye in the galaxy stared at the empty void that had once swallowed countless fleets. But now there was nothing. No wrecks, no radiation, not even the faint hum of cosmic dust. It was as if a part of reality had been erased. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Leaders shouted across holographic screens, demanding answers that no one could give. The Drexar commander slammed his claws against the table. "They are using a planet killer," he roared. "No weapon should have such power," the Vorian ambassador replied coldly. "No, Commander, it's worse. They are using something that doesn't kill. It erases." Behind closed doors, scientists tried to explain the impossible. They compared energy readings from the war zone's disappearance. Every result came back the same. 0. Absolute 0. Not an explosion, not destruction, just absence. One terrified researcher whispered, "It's like the space never existed at all." And then the rumors began. Old stories resurfaced from forgotten human archives. Projects abandoned after Earth's third expansion. One of them had a name that matched the whispers. Project Nullfield. It was said to be the final creation of human scientists who believed that war itself could be deleted. Not ended, not won, deleted. The records were fragmented, most erased by the humans themselves centuries ago, but a few fragments survived in alien archives. They spoke of a device that could collapse matter, time and memory into nothing. No damage, no remains, just silence. The humans called it a mercy field, a weapon to end endless war. The Council realized the truth too late. Humanity had not gone into the war zone to fight. They had gone there to cleanse it. Every destroyed ship, every drifting corpse, every echo of violence, erased. They were not fighting for territory or dominance. They were rewriting the rules of existence. Inside the TSS Invictus, Admiral Kane stood in the observation bay once more. The stars had returned beyond the mist for the first time. Pure light shone across the dark hulls of his ships, but the fleet did not celebrate. There was no victory music, no cheers, only quiet. Captain Reeves approached carefully. "Sir, the null field perimeter is stable." "Containment complete," Kane nodded. "Good. Then we proceed to full-scale calibration." Reeves hesitated. "Sir, I must ask, how far does this go?" Kane looked at him, his expression unreadable. "As far as it needs to," he said. "The galaxy built this place as a monument to war. We are turning it into a lesson." The crew didn't speak. They only obeyed. None of them knew if they were saving the galaxy or destroying it. All they knew was that their orders were absolute. To cleanse, to silence, to erase. Meanwhile, far away, chaos spread through the galaxy. Empires began to move fleets closer to their home systems. Treaties were broken, alliances shattered. Fear replaced reason. Everyone wondered if Earth would activate the field again. If humanity could erase one war zone, could they erase entire civilizations? Then, one night, across every major communication channel in the galaxy, a transmission appeared. It was old-fashioned. Carrying the emblem of Earth, a calm voice spoke. This message is addressed to all who still call themselves rulers, warriors and conquerors. This is Admiral Kane, commander of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. The war zone has been neutralized. Do not search for what was there. It no longer exists. We have removed it for the safety of all life. But understand this. If you bring war to our borders again, the field will expand. And when it expands, there will be no empires, no heroes, no enemies. Only silence. Then the message ended. No threats, no demands, no follow-up. Just a quiet warning carried through the stars. For the first time in galactic history, every empire stopped. Every fleet froze in orbit. Every commander hesitated before giving orders. Because they knew now, humanity did not need to fight to win. They only needed to decide. The war zone became a forbidden place. No one entered, no one spoke of it. The area remained empty, a ghost space where the rules of the universe no longer applied. Some said it was cursed, others said it was sacred, but deep inside, something strange remained, a single signal pulsing faintly. It was human, repeating every hour. Cleaning cycle complete. Awaiting next target. Across the galaxy, a silence spread wider than fear. The council met again, but this time no one shouted. No one argued. They simply watched the stars and wondered, had humanity become saviors or destroyers? Or something in between? Guardians of silence on Earth. The leaders of the Terran Union received Kane's final report. Objective complete, the war zone neutralized. Then nothing more. The fleet had not returned. Their signals grew weaker with each passing week. Some believed they had perished in their own creation. Others believed they had ascended beyond known space. Whichever truth it was, one fact remained certain. The galaxy would never wage war the same way again, because now they knew somewhere out there in the quiet dark. Humanity was watching, and if the fires of war ever rose again, the field would rise with them, and everything would vanish. The galaxy had changed forever. No one remembered the last time so many worlds were quiet at once. The wars stopped. The border conflicts ended. Even the pirates vanished into silence for the first time in centuries. Peace did not come from treaties or threats, it came from fear. The quiet kind that lived in every star's shadow. The war zone, once the darkest place in the galaxy, had become a hollow void. Scanners showed nothing, and no dust, no metal, no sound. Even light itself seemed afraid to enter. The Galactic Council named it Sector 0. But among ordinary people, it had a different name. They called it the Human Veil. Trade routes curved far around it. No ship dared to pass through. Legends began to grow. Whispers that the human fleet still floated inside. Invisible, eternal, guarding the emptiness they created. Children on distant colonies were told stories. If you fight, the humans of the void will come. And war will disappear. On the far edges of the Milky Way, the Terran Union had grown quiet too. Earth no longer sent diplomats or soldiers. The once busy Terran relay stations went dark. One by one, only faint transmissions escaped their networks, repeating a strange code every few cycles. No one could decode it. Some said it was a call home. Others said it was a warning. Inside the council chambers, new leaders rose and old empires fell. But the shadow of humanity lingered over every meeting. Every decision was made with one question whispered behind closed doors. What would the humans do if they saw this? And that question kept the peace more than any treaty ever had. Centuries passed slowly, and still the war zone remained untouched. Explorers tried to send drones once more, curious to see what lay beyond. Every attempt ended the same way. The drone's signal cut off. The memory logs erased. Only one message ever came back. A single human voice saying, "Restricted space. Maintain distance." No one knew who or what sent that message. The original fleet was gone for generations. But the voice sounded alive, steady, human. The galaxy began to wonder if the Terran fleet had truly vanished, or if they had become part of the void itself, bound to protect it forever. On a quiet moon near the edge of the veil, a lone Vorian scientist named Eris worked in secret. He was obsessed with the mystery of humanity. He spent years collecting old Terran data, decoding fragments of Project Null Field. Late one night, he found something hidden deep inside an encrypted file. A message left by Admiral Kane himself. Dated centuries ago, Eris played it, his hands shaking. The Admiral's calm voice filled the room. "If you are hearing this, the field has done its work. The war zone was never a weapon. It was a promise. We created it not to conquer, but to end the endless dying. Every empire had forgotten what silence meant. We gave it back to them. There will come a day when the galaxy grows restless again, when they forget the cost of war. When that day comes, remember this message. Humanity is not gone. We are watching, and when the first shot is fired, the field will awaken once more. The recording ended with a faint hum. Eris sat frozen, unable to breathe. He looked out toward the stars, toward the empty Sector 0, and for the first time in his life, he felt the silence. It was not dead space. It was a heartbeat, slow and distant across the galaxy. Strange lights began to flicker along the old human relays. One by one, they came alive again after centuries of darkness. Their signals pulsed through subspace, carrying the same code that no one could decode. But the pattern formed a shape, a circle, the ancient insignia of Earth. Planets across the stars watched as that symbol appeared in their skies, glowing faintly, and then all at once it disappeared, leaving behind only 3 words on every active display. Peace is enough. From that day, the galaxy changed again. Empires stopped building warships and started building libraries. The people began to explore, not conquer, and though no one ever saw the humans again, their name became legend, a story told in quiet tones by travelers. They entered the Warzone and everything vanished, they'd say. But they left behind silence, and the kind that protects life. Far beyond the galactic rim, where light itself grew thin, something vast moved through the darkness. Silent, patient, endless at its heart, a human fleet still drifted untouched by time. Their engines cold, their hulls glowing faintly red in the command deck. Admiral Kane sat in eternal stillness, eyes closed, face calm as the stars passed like memories. Eris, the fleet's old AI, spoke softly into the quiet. "Cycle complete, Admiral, all systems stable." Kane's voice, soft as a whisper, replied, "Good, let it rest." And the fleet continued to drift through the void, unseen by all, a silent guardian of peace born from humanity's final promise. And so in the heart of the galaxy, the legend of the Warzone lived on, a story of a species that chose silence over victory, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful weapon of all is the choice to end war itself.